Okay, good evening, everyone. I do hope we enjoy our day. We welcome to our financial reporting class for our ACC exams, and of course, also suitable for ICANN examination. So we are all welcome once again, and I believe you can hear me from wherever you are. And we also hopefully our other colleagues is going to join us as we move on. Welcome. We're going to pick it up from where we stopped the last time. So we will be looking into income taxes, IS 12, okay? Income taxes, IS 12. So that's what we'll be taking a look into tonight, right? We'll be taking a look at IS 12, income taxes, and let's see what we can do around here. But obviously income taxes or IS 12 is quite a boring standard. It's so boring, but I'll try as much as possible to make it a little bit interesting, okay? So when we say tax, I'm sure you've heard the word tax before. When companies make profits, they have to pay tax on that particular profit that they have made, okay? They have to pay tax on that. Now, normally we have two elements of tax, or let's say income taxes deals with two elements of taxes. First one is current tax, and the other one is deferred tax. Okay, there is not too much complications around current tax. What does that mean? Current tax is the amount that is payable or recoverable in respect of a particular accounting period. Okay, so let's say I'm in 2020 or I'm in 2021. How much am I going to pay for my tax in 2020? So that's my current tax. Okay, so that's the amount of tax payable or that is recoverable in respect to a particular period. That's the taxable profit or loss of that period. But when it comes to deferred tax, okay, which is actually what we'll be looking into, tonight. So when it comes to deferred taxes, what does that supposed to mean? What does that supposed to mean? So deferred tax is talking about matching the tax effect of transaction in relation to the accounting period. Okay, matching the tax effect of transaction in tax effect of transaction in relation to the accounting period. Okay, so the whole essence is you're trying to, for example, let's say, under accounting, you have something we call accrual concept. Okay, so you recognize items when they occur rather than when cash is received. So if that particular item is taxable, but because I have not received cash, I will not tax it. I will tax it in future period. So the essence of deferred tax, I need to recognize deferred tax now in this accounting period in which those particular item relate to, okay, even though I'm going to tax it, it's going to be taxable in the future period. So the whole essence of deferred taxes is to match the effect, okay, the tax effect is to match the tax effect of transactions to relevant accounting period. Is that okay? So that's what deferred tax mean. And there are differences between accounting profits and taxable profits. Is that okay? There's a difference between accounting profits and taxable profits. So you need to understand that. Now, your accounting profit is, you've looked at your revenue, your cost of sales, all your expenses that will involve amortization, depreciation, and some items of expenses like donation and all of that before you arrive at your profit before tax. So that is accounting profit. In fact, they even involve non-cash item, that for you to get your accounting profit. Okay, but taxable profit, the taxman will come and say, no, you can't tax, you can't place taxation on accounting profit. So it has to be on taxable profit. So you have to recompute your profit. So for example, all the non-allowable expenses, you have to add them back. You add depreciation back. So what you have left is what we call taxable profit. So that will give rise to deferred tax. Okay, because there are differences between the accounting profits and taxable profit, okay? So most likely it's going to result into deferred tax. And we have two types, deductible and non-deductible temporary difference, okay? And taxable temporary difference. So we are still coming there. Okay, so you should be able to differentiate between current tax and deferred tax. So that's what I try to explain over there. Okay, and don't also forget that, for example, when I'm preparing my accounts, because I've not adjusted for or I've not computed my tax for that particular year, I normally make an estimate. Okay, so estimate is usually made on the account. Okay, and when you make estimates, so most likely by the time those taxes are due or when they were now agreed with the tax authority, so most likely you might have underestimate or overestimate. So that will give rise to under or over provisions when it comes to taxes. Now, for my current tax that is payable, then what's the accounting entry? I'm going to debit my tax expense in the statement of profit or loss, and I carry my tax payable in my statement of financial position as a current liability, because that's what I'm going to pay most likely in the next accounting year. Okay, now, so remember, it's going to be a provision. So let's say I'm preparing my account for 2020. I make an estimate in the account. Okay, so I call it tax or current tax or provisions around tax. Okay, so I debit my income statement, then I credit my income tax payable. So let's take a look at under or over provision. So I just made mention that when I'm preparing my account, I can either under provide for tax that will be payable in that particular year, or I over provide. Okay. Now it's not going to affect year-end tax liability. Okay. So all we just need to see is the effect of that either under provision or over provision. For example, if I under provide, what does that mean? Let's say I provided for 500K, 500,000 for my tax. Okay, when it becomes due or when it's become payable or it's computed, I paid 700. So obviously that is under provision. So it's going to increase my tax charge for a particular year because I need to, add that balance to the future tax or the current tax as it were. Then if I provided for 500, and I eventually paid 350, okay, or I agreed 350 with the tax authority. That means I have over provide. So it will reduce or decrease the tax charge, okay? So that's what you need to understand. So I'm trying to explain what you have around here, okay? Now, like I said, it's a very boring standard, but just try to listen to me. So I'll try to make it more as more simple as possible. Okay, now let me look at what is written here. Note that any under or over provision within an exam question will simply be the balance of income tax on the trial balance. So once you look at a trial balance, maybe in the exam, I see the balance of the income tax. So to tell you whether it's an over or under provision. Is that okay? So normally the taxation account, we have two entries in a year: balance brought forward, balance I'm bringing forward, and the payment I made from that particular year, so that I can have my closing balance. Okay, so if payment is the same as the balance brought forward, then the balance in the trial balance will be zero. Okay, so if I pay and what I'm paying is the same as what I bring in into that particular year, that's my opening balance, then in the trial balance it will be zero. But if payment is not the same to the balance that is brought forward, then that would be a balance on the trial balance which represents under or over provision. Is that okay? And I try to explain what under or over provision is to you. Now, a debit balance will represent under provision. That means I have under provided. Okay, it will represent under provision. So if you say debit balance on your trial balance, please take note. Debit balance on what's it called on the trial balance, it means I have under provided, and that will have to be charged to my statement of profit or loss account. But if taxes is shown on the credit side, or it has a credit balance on my trial balance, it means I have over provided. Okay, so it has to be credited to my statement of profit or loss. So what I've just explained to you you can find it here. So please take note so that when you say trial balance, it's on the debit side, that means I've under provided. It's on the credit side, that means I've over provided. And I think I will credit in my statement of profit or loss. So let's look at illustration 1 to try to demonstrate our understanding on what we have learned or what I've tried to explain to us. Okay, sorry. Now, Now, Simple as estimated its income tax liability for the year ended 31st December 20x8 at 180. In the previous year, the income tax liability had been estimated at 150. Calculate the tax expense that will be shown in the statement of profit and loss for the year ended 31st December 20x8 if the amount that was actually agreed and settled with tax authority in respect of 20x7 was 165 and 140. So these are the amounts that would agree with the tax authority. Okay. Meanwhile, in the 20x8 account, we have estimated what's called tax liability to be 180. That's year-end estimate. Okay, in 2018. And in the previous year, we estimated 150. So what do? Now, we simply look at that year-end estimate, in 2018, which is 180. I will now look at this 165. You look at this 165 in the current year now, we have to pay, we have 180. Last, in 2018, that we are making provision for. Is that okay? The last year, we made 150. Is that okay? Meanwhile, we are supposed to pay 165. So obviously, we have under-provided. Is that okay? So I'll remove 165. Okay, I'll remove 165 from 150. Then I have, is that 15? So I will add it up to the 180 estimate in my account. Then I have 195. So you can see that here. Can you see that? So this 180, then for my under provision is 15. So to increase that tax, okay, it's going to increase it because I have under provided. Okay, now the next one is 140. So if you look at 140 and I provided how much here? 150. Okay, so that means I have over provided. So it will reduce my tax. Okay, so the same way I have my 180. So remove that 150 from 140 so that I can have 10 because you have over provided. So it reduces it. Is that okay? So my income tax will now be 170. That pretty looks so straightforward. Okay, so that's what they call under or over provision. Now let's now go to deferred tax. Remember, I told you earlier that what IAS 12 is actually dealing with is a deferred tax. Okay. All right. So that is what we are really focusing on. Now, so I said earlier that deferred tax is matching the tax effect of transaction to their relevant accounting period. So this is what they are also saying here. That's the way I divide it from my head, right? Now let's look at what they are saying here. The estimated future tax consequence of transaction and event recognized in financial statements in the current and previous period. So can you see that? Estimated future tax consequences. So just because we have a Accra base of accounting, so most likely transaction can occur this year, but before I hand them or that asset is end or liability is settled, it's going to be future accounting year. So I won't wait for that the future accounting period for me to start looking for the tax effect. I have to recognize it in this accounting period, and that gives rise to deferred tax. Okay, so deferred taxation is the base of allocating tax charges to a particular accounting period. So the key to deferred taxation lies in two quite different concepts of profit. Remember, I talked about accounting profit and taxable profit. So that's the emphasis here. I've even told you earlier on, okay? So that's the emphasis there. So you have the accounting profit, that's the reported profit in my account, and I have my taxable profit, which is the figure or the profit with the taxation authorities. So what we have agreed to pay. Remember, we do something that we call tax base, okay? Tax base. So that's the amount attributed to those items in the account, especially asset or liability by tax authority. Okay, so now for accounting profit, so the difference between accounting profit and taxable profit will lead to what we call permanent difference or temporary difference. What does that mean? Permanent differences. Difference between accounting profit and taxable profit. Permanent. Why is it permanent? It's permanent because what is leading to those differences are disallowable. For example, maybe I made donations, that is disallowable under the law, tax law, right? And that means when I'm computing my accounting profit, I would have deducted that donation, that's my expenses, from my revenue and all of that. So I arrive at my profit before tax. Okay. Now, when the taxman comes, he will say, no, that donation is disallowable. I have to add it back. So that's permanent difference. Then you also have temporary difference. Okay. Now, temporary difference will arise when expenses is allowed for both tax purpose and accounting purpose. Does that make sense? Now, but for temporary difference, it will only arise because it's only allowable for what's it called? Accounting purposes. Okay, accounting purposes only allowable. Okay, so I only compute it when I'm doing my accounting profit, but it's disallowed when the tax authority comes. So that is permanent difference. But temporary difference is it will arise when an expense is allowed for both tax and accounting purpose. But sometimes it will be within different accounting period. Is that okay? Now, so for example, if relief for capital allowance is given at a faster rate for tax purpose, then the depreciation in the financial statement, that is the tax charge, will be lower in the earlier years. Is that okay? So that's the issue around that. Now, let's look at it again. Temporary difference. So that would be the difference between the kind amount of an asset or liability in the financial position and tax base. Is that okay? So that's temporary difference. Now, what is tax base? Listen, what is tax base? Tax base of an asset or a liability is the amount attributed to that asset or liability for tax purpose. Okay, so the taxman comes, he says, this asset is 100. In your own account, you might be carrying it at 90. Is that okay? You might be carrying it at 90. And the taxman says it's 100. Or he can say it's 90 and you are carrying it at 100. So there is always a difference, okay? So that's temporary difference. So the difference between the carrying amount of an asset or liability in the statement of financial position and tax base, it will tell you temporary difference. Now, example of temporary difference, for example, you have certain types of income and expenditure that are taxed on cash basis rather than accrual basis. For example, provision. Then the difference between the non-current asset depreciation charge and tax allowance. So sometimes you can claim capital allowance or tax allowance in the year of purchase. Meanwhile, depreciation will be spread over the life of that asset. Okay, so that's what gives rise to temporary difference. So in your exam, non-current assets will be the most likely source of temporary difference. Is that okay? So it's going to be the source of temporary difference. Now, why do we have to recognize deferred tax? The examiner can pick you up on this. So please take note. Because of the accrual concept requires its recognition, remember? Then deferred tax is a liability. It can also be an asset. I will show you why when a deferred tax will be a liability or an asset, okay? It will eventually be settled. Then the overstatement of profit caused by failing to allow deferred tax liability can lead to optimistic dividend payment, distortion of EPS, and shareholders being misled. So if you don't recognize deferred tax, okay, taxes will reduce my profit, right? So I don't recognize those deferred tax, most likely it would have distorted my earnings per share, okay, and even price earnings ratio, and inflated profits will result. So that's why you need to recognize deferred tax. Please, you need to take note. You need to take note of that. We need to take note of, okay, so we need to take note of that. Now, IS 12 and deferred tax. An entity have to recognize a deferred tax liability or asset when the recovery or settlement of the current amount of that asset or liability will make future tax payments larger or smaller than they would be if such recovery or settlement were to have no tax consequences. So when you have a transaction that have tax consequence, future tax consequence, then you need to recognize deferred tax, okay? Now, deferred tax is calculated using the liability method, okay, in which deferred tax is calculated by reference to tax base of an asset or liability, and you compare it with the carrying amount, okay? Now, in your FR exam, so this is what you do. You look at the carrying amount of that asset. Everybody knows this. You should be able to know this. Cost minus accumulated depreciation, it gives me carrying amount, okay? I'll now look at tax base. What is the taxman telling me to be the amount for this asset? That's what we mean by tax base, okay? So the difference between the two will give me what we call temporary difference. So the question now is this. Now, be with me here. Please be with me here. The question is this. When I have temporary difference, okay, what type of temporary difference am I having? Is it taxable temporary difference or deductible temporary difference? Okay? If the carrying amount, I'm not sure it should be somewhere in your notes, but let me quickly explain it here. If the carrying amount of an asset is higher than the tax base, that is what we call deferred tax liability. Is that okay? And that's what we call taxable temporary difference. The carrying amount is higher than what the taxman is telling me, okay? That is taxable temporary difference. But the tax base is higher than the carrying amount, okay? That is deductible temporary difference. And that's what we also call deferred tax assets. Is that okay? That is what it's called, deferred tax assets. So you need to learn that. So I don't know the formula you're going to use to know if carrying amount is higher than tax base, so what will be the effect, okay? So maybe you can learn to say, once the carrying amount is higher than the tax base, all right, so that is taxable temporary difference or deferred tax liability. So maybe that will be fine. So just know that the opposite is deferred tax asset. Okay, now, so my deferred tax, so when you now compute this figure, whatever you have here as a temporary difference, you apply tax rates. They can give you 30%, they can give you 25% in your exam, you just apply it straight. So it becomes your deferred tax, okay? Now, so that's what you have here. So deferred tax will now have the temporary difference multiplied by the tax rate. So if there's an increase in deferred tax, okay, you debit your income or OCI, depending. OCI, why is it OCI? Because maybe you're dealing with PPE that is revalued, okay? And you know, when you revalue PPE, you take it to OCI, other comprehensive income, okay? Then you credit your deferred tax, all right? Then if it's a reduction, you will debit deferred tax and credit your income statement. Is that okay? Or OCI, as the case may be. Now, so let's now take a look at deferred tax assets. Deferred tax asset. So a deductible temporary difference, I have said it earlier, arises when or where the tax base of an asset is higher than its carrying amount. Can you see that? So that's what gives rise to deferred tax assets. So the tax base is higher than the carrying amount of that asset. So a deferred tax asset shall be recognized for all deductible temporary difference to the extent that it is probable that taxable profit will be available against which deductible temporary difference can be utilized. You know, because it is deductible. Listen, it is deductible. It is deductible. What it means is when I have taxable profit in the future accounting year, I will deduct it. So that's why I said to the extent that it is probable that taxable profit will be available. Did you see that? So I deduct. But if it is deferred tax liability, it will be taxable. Okay, that's why they call it taxable temporary difference. That means the carrying amount is higher than the tax base. I say recovery amount, no tax base, right? Okay, so that's it. Now, if a deferred tax arises from an entity that are making loss previously, then the entity must be able to demonstrate that sufficient forecasted profit will be available to utilize the asset in order to recognize it. Is that okay? In order to recognize it. Okay, so let me allow you to assimilate that. Okay, so we have a question here, right? Okay, let's see if we can solve this question. Let's see if we can solve this question. A company's financial statement shows a profit before tax of $1,000 in each year's 1, 2, 3. The profit is stated after charging depreciation of 200 per annum due to purchase of an asset costing 600 in year 1, which is being depreciated over 3 years, useful life on a straight line basis. The tax allowance granted on the asset as follows. So tax allowance will help you to know the tax base, okay, of that particular asset. So income tax is calculated at 30%. So sometimes they can say 20%, 25%, just follows it, right, on taxable profit. Apart from the above depreciation and tax allowances, there are no other differences between the accounting and taxable profit. Required. Ignore deferred tax. Prepare statement of profit or loss. Then number 2, accounting for deferred tax. Prepare statement of profit or loss. Okay, so now let's see if I ignore deferred tax, what would have happened? I'll bring my profit before tax. Can you see that? Then income tax expense. Okay, so how do we get our income tax expense? Now, these are workings. So I have my 1,000. No, they told me that profit before tax is what's it called, 1,000 throughout the year. Then my depreciation is 200. How did we get depreciation of 200? Are we giving? Yes, we're giving. Okay, and if you were not giving, you know how to do that, right? So that's how we got this depreciation. You know, you remove depreciation, you add back depreciation because I want to get my taxable profits. Is that okay? So that I can know my tax, because my tax that I'm putting up here is not on accounting profits. Is that okay? It has to be taxable profit. So for me to get my taxable profit, I'll bring back my accounting profit, add back depreciation. I will now remove capital allowance, okay, allowed by the taxman, which is this 240. Can you see that here? Can you see, say year 1, 240, 210, 150? So you are going to remove it. So when I remove, I have my taxable profit to be 960, 990, and 105. So you now apply that 30% tax. So you have 288. Is that okay? You know, normally, if I'm doing it on accounting profit, I would have applied 30% on 1,000, and that would have given me 300. Is that okay? Did you see? So that profit is already inflated. Okay. Now, I now apply 30%. Sorry, on 960, I have this figure. Okay. So that's what you're doing. So now bring in here so that I can have my profit after tax here to be 712,703,685. Is that okay? So that's what you're doing. So in my what's it called? That's what we have done. I think, let me see. You said we should prepare statement of profit or loss. Okay. So we have prepared that. Now, in part B of that question, it now says we should recognize deferred tax. Okay. So what do? In your workings, you also bring back your profits. Then you bring back your what's it called? Depreciation. You add it back. Then you apply capital allowance so that you can have what's it called? Income tax, or just like we did earlier. Is that okay? Just like we did earlier. Now, I will now go and look at my temporary difference. That's the difference between the kind amount of that asset and the tax base. Is that okay? So you agree that in year 1, the kind amount of this asset is 400. How did I get 400? So let me find out. How did we get the 400? Now, you know, they told us that the asset cost 600. Is that okay? and it will be depreciated, what's it called, by 200. Even if this guy did not tell me 200, I can say 600 divided by 3. Okay, it gives me 200. Okay, so I'll depreciate 200 in year 1. So that's why I did this for you, so that you can understand how we got this 400. Then in year 2, I depreciate again by 200. I have 200. Then year 3, it will be 0, because I would have finished depreciation. So the current amount will be 0. Okay, now what is my tax base? I will now remove the cost of the asset from the capital allowance. So in year 1, the capital allowance was 240. Okay, I remove it from 600. I have 360. Then in year 2, I'm bringing back this 600 again. So 240 in year 1, then 210 in year 2. So I have 150. So that's what I did. In year 3, it will also be 0. So I have temporary difference of 40. Do you see that? I will now apply for my deferred tax now. I will now apply 30% on that. So I have 12. Is that okay? I have 15. Then I have, we are looking for the opening balance. Opening balance, the balance in year 1 is 12. So now if I want to look at the increase from year 1 to year 2, so to be 15 minus 12, it gives me 3. You see, it's increasing. But when I come to here, it has declined by minus 15. Is that okay? Because that was 0, okay? So that's minus 15. So if I say 0 minus 15, it will give me minus 15. So that is my increase or decrease in deferred tax. So I'll now bring on my, what's it called, income tax. Remember our income tax, how we got this income tax. Can I show you again what we got here when we computed our income tax, so that I can recognize the deferred tax? So the 12 I have here, the 3 I have here, and the 15 I have here. So my income tax expense will now be 300 throughout the year. So that's what I bring into my account here. Can you see? 300, 300, 300, so that I can have 700. This is the point. I can have 700. If you look at the first one that we did, when we don't, when we not defer tax, you see, we have 700 there. Profit is overstated, okay? Because I didn't recognize deferred tax, 703, until the last year. So because it will be taxed in that year, so that's why you now see 685, okay? But here is making a better performance because I could see what is happening. Then you can now do your balance sheet. What do you do in your balance sheet? Deferred tax under your non-current liabilities. That what we computed, and current liabilities, you bring on the tax expense. Is that okay? And that's the end of that question. That's the end of that question. Please take a look at it at your leisure, and be sure you understand that. Okay. Now, so let's move on. Deferred tax liability. Deferred tax liability. Sorry. I've explained it actually, but I still have it on the notes there. Now, a deferred tax liability is recognized on all taxable temporary differences. Okay. Remember, a taxable temporary difference will arise when the current amount of an asset is higher than the tax base, just like we've seen in that question. Okay. And the liability has to be calculated and provided in full, then you don't discount. Remember, it's for the future, but you don't discount. So no discounting of the liability. So you leave it the way it is. Okay. Now, when I revalue assets, normally, I think I mentioned this earlier, but let me say it again. If I revalue an asset, I take that revaluation gain to OCI. So I can also compute the deferred tax effect of that particular revaluation, so that I can take it to OCI. So let me see what they are saying here. it is permissible to revalue non-current assets to represent their fair value. Now, where revaluation takes place, the kind amount of that asset will change, but the tax base will not change. Is that okay? So to cause temporary difference. Okay. Now, so the difference between the kind amount of the revalued assets and the tax base is what we call is an example of temporary difference, and we give rise to deferred tax liability or assets, which is taken to revaluation surplus via other comprehensive income. Okay, rather than statement of profit or loss. Okay, so that's what you have there. Valuation of non-current asset. So the same thing you have here is still the same explanation. Deferred tax should be recognized on revaluation gain, even where there is no intention to sell or roll over, or there is rollover relief that's available on the gain. Okay, so we may not really sell it, but we need to recognize deferred tax. So the valuation of non-current assets will result in taxable temporary difference, and so deferred tax liability. So this is charged to as a to OCI, okay, and you have to charge straight to OCI, okay. Now, so let's look at tax losses. What's the meaning of tax losses? If I make loss in a particular year, I won't pay tax, right? But I can use that that losses to reduce my tax when I start making profit. Is that okay? Now, so what the standard is now saying is, where unused tax losses are carried forward, a deferred tax asset can be recognized. Remember, deferred tax asset is an example of deductible temporary difference. So I can deduct, okay, to the extent of the taxable profit that will be available in the future to offset the losses. So if I make loss of 500 million, for example, 500 million loss, and I make profit of 300 million, so I can use that 500 million to offset, okay, I'll be reducing it, so I still have negative until I come back to my normal profit. Okay, so if the entity expect or do not expect that taxable profit in future, it cannot recognize deferred tax assets. So you need to be sure that you are going to make profit. Okay, all right. So that's what that is saying. So let's look at question 2, and then I think you can take a look at question 3 on your own. Okay. So you should be able to take a look at question 3. Well, let me look at question 2 for you, or I look at 2 and 3, then I can look at question 4. And that will be the end of deferred tax. Okay. Oh, sorry, where am I? Okay. Okay, so let's look at question 2. On 1st January 20X8, Simeon Co. decided to revalue its land for the first time. A qualified property valuer reported that the market value of the land on that date was $80,000. The land was originally purchased 6 years ago for $65,000. The required provision for income tax at the year end 31st December 2006 is $400. Yeah. Now the difference between the kind amount and the net asset of Simeon, including revaluation of the land above, and their lower tax base at 31st December 2006 is $27,000. The opening balance on deferred tax account was 26. Simeon rate of income tax is 25%. Require prepare extract of financial statement to show the effect of the above transaction. So basically what is happening here is revaluation. And as I'm revaluing, I need to also recognize the deferred tax element. Okay, so let me bring you up to deferred tax computation. Then before we post it. So remember, we have a balance that we are carrying forward. Remember, sorry, let me pick that up. He said the difference between the carrying amount that they already computed in the account is 27 as at December 20X8. Okay, so it's 27. So I bring on that account. I'll bring it on. Sorry. So that's what we did here. So we apply 25% on that. Then there's a balance brought forward of 2006. Remember? Where is it? It said the opening balance. This is my closing balance because that's at the end of the year. I apply 25% on it. Then the opening balance on deferred tax account is 26. Okay, so that's what you put on there. So I have my 26 because that's my opening balance. Now I have increase in deferred tax. Okay, I have increase in deferred tax. Okay, now, so that's what you do in your working note 1. How did I know that it's an increase? How did I know that it is an increase in deferred tax? Okay, now I'm going to show you now. Now, year-end estimate in my income tax expense is 19.4. Okay, so if you look at the question, we're given the year-end estimate. It said require provision for income tax for the year-end is 19,400. Okay, so we need to do that. So we now need to check now our revaluation. The asset was revalued from 65 to 80. Is that okay? Is that 65 to 80? So we have 15. Okay, that's 15, right? 80 minus 65 should give us 15. Yes, it's 15. Okay. Now, I will now compute deferred tax. I will look at the deferred tax on revaluation. So this is what we did there. So you apply 25% on that 15 so that you can have how much is this? 3750. Okay. So 3750. So now, since I have 4150 here, and this is the deferred tax that I'm having on that revaluation. So I remove it from that so that I can have 400. So to now form part of my current tax. I add it as part of my current tax. So that's what we have here. So this 3750 is my tax on revaluation, and the increase in deferred tax, where I just look at the balance, the closing balance for that year, and the balance I brought forward at the beginning of the year. So it has led to increase. Okay, it has led to increase. How did it increase? I have 67 now. Then 226 is what I brought in. So obviously it has increased by 4150. Is that okay? Now, so in my account, what do I do? Income tax expense. Remember, we got this 98. The income tax expense for that year, and the difference between can you see? Let me show you the difference between increase in deferred tax and tax on revaluation. Okay, so it gives me the account, what I post into my profit or loss. The revaluation gain goes to my OCI. Remember that 15. I will now recognize the deferred tax effect on that revaluation, which is 3750. How do I get that? Just apply 25% on that 15,000. How did I get 15,000? The assets and the revaluation. No, it was valued from 65 to 80. Okay, so that I can have this figure. Then in the statement of financial position, assets will now be carried at 80. The revaluation surplus, can you remember? Within your equity. Then deferred tax that we got, and of course the what's it called, year-end estimate. It will also be taken as current liability in my account. So that's what you are posting. Then your changes in equity, what has changed? Revaluation gain, OCI, okay? Then the deferred tax effect, it has also changed. And that's the end of that question. That is the end of that question. So just try to take a look. So let's look at one more question before I leave you. Now, in this question, we have a trial balance. The following trial balance relates to Moliko at 31st December 20x1. Now, if you look at the first question we did, they gave us a narration, so we have to pick it out. Here, we're giving trial balance. And remember, we said, if I have a debit balance on my deferred tax, so that means it's under provision, okay? So it will be debited to my profit or loss. If I have credit balance, it's over provision. It will be credited. So if you check here, deferred tax here is on the, that's trial balance, right? It's on the credit side. Okay, so it will be credited, right? Because that's over provision. So we're giving some other information. So let's look at this information. Then I show you how to work it out. Then we can call it a day. That's a very boring standard. So you can try to pick it up probably before you sleep tonight, okay, or over the weekend. Now, land cost 5,000 and it's to be revalued to 18. Ignore deferred tax or revaluation. So here, the examiner did not want me to do deferred tax. Now, trial balance on the income tax account represents over provision of tax for the previous year. Even if you did not tell me, I have told you, right? So it represents over provision. So it's reminding me, okay? The income tax for the current year is estimated at 3, and deferred tax provision is to be increased by 86. The closing inventory is valued at 16 as a cost for the year. Included in this amount is inventory at a cost of 8,000. But during the inventory count, it was identified that this good had become damaged, and as a result, the selling price reduced. So the goods are now believed to have a selling price of 4,500 after incurring a rectification cost of 500. Remember, we've done inventory IS2, which should be measured lower of cost and net realizable value. So if this is the cost, and they now said they did it at 4,500, they sold it at 4,500 after this. So this 4,000, right? If you net it also, I have 4,000 net realizable value. So it has to be recognized at 4,000. Required, prepare only statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income. The financial position and changes in equity for the year ended 31st December 20X1. Okay, so what do we do here? What do we do here? So we just go straight to your workings. Remember your purchases, cost of sales. I need to get my cost of sales. So I do my purchases, opening inventory is in the account. Then you now less closing inventory. How did you get your closing inventory? Inventory at cost is in the account. Then damage inventory. Remember that 8,000 that was damaged, but was eventually sold for 4,500, but you remove that 500 rectification cost so that you can have 12,000. Okay, so that's how that is gotten. Okay, so that's how you got this closing inventory. Remember to get your cost of sales, purchases, or you say opening stock, add purchases, less closing stock. Is that okay? And for me to know my closing stock, it has to be lower of cost and net realizable value. So when you compute that, you have 12,000. So you should be able to know that from your FA, financial accounting. Then in your working note 2, you will do the loan interest, okay? So there should be a charge of 800, but the actual amount paid in the account was 400. So let me show you that in the P or L, in the trial balance. Let's see whether I will see that. So loan paid, interest paid is 400. But if you look at the loan in the account, it says 10% loan note. So if you do 10% of this, should be 800. So I have an accrual of 400 that I have not paid. Okay, so you recognize an accrual. So that's why you're having that 400 here. So now go to your income tax. Remember in the trial balance, I have already over-provided. So to be a credit. Exactly, it's not a charge. That's why it's in jacket. The current year estimate is 300. The increase in deferred tax. Remember in the account, I have 86, then 8,000. It has increased by 600. So I can have my income tax to be 31 rather. So let me show you that increase in deferred tax, 8,600. So he told me here that the deferred tax provision has increased to 8,600, but in the account, how much is my deferred tax? Can you see? It's on the credit, right? So I have it as 8,000 here. Then the income tax for that year is also on the credit, 500. So that's why you have it in jackets. Okay. Okay. So that's what you have it. Then my PPE in the trial balance, I have the current amount to be 35. Then I revalue upward. Okay. So I have 6,000. So that's the increase in valuation of land. So let me see what they said there. Although they said we should ignore deferred tax. Remember. So the land that cost 5,000 to be revalued to 11. That's 6,000, right? So meanwhile, in my account, let me look for revenue admin, non-current assets. Okay, the kind amount. So it's already computed it for me. 35,000. Okay, so the kind amount is 35,000. Let me see. So that's how we got this 35,000, and the increase from 5,000 to 11,000. That's how we got this 6,000. So we add it together. That's what you take to your balance sheet. Then I've done the inventory, and that's all. Wow. So that's all. So you can now prepare your account. Okay. You know how to do your income statement. You do your revenue. We have computed cost of sales, remember? Gross profit. So that means you need to learn how to compute account, because here it had given me trial balance. Okay. So from those trial balance, I will have to compute my account. So what is most difficult there is those computation. Once you are able to do those computation, you should be able to do this. Okay. Then in your balance sheet, remember what to put there: your assets, your equity, and all of that. Then in changes in equity, let me show you that. So that one might be a little bit complicated. So you look at share capital. You have to know what constitutes my equity. Equity, share capital, share premium, revaluation, surplus, retained earnings, other component of equity, and all of that. So that constitutes my equity. Then in the question, you notice that we have share capital, we have share premium, revaluation, surplus, and retained earnings. So you put them. So now look at balance at the beginning of the year. Share capital will, except they issue new share during the year, it will always remain the same. Then share premiums in the account. Then retained earnings, you also see that in the account. So now in my retained earnings, I will now add the profit for the year. I've already computed it, okay? You have profit for the year. Then you ask, they pay dividend. You remove that dividend. Is that okay? Then that revaluation surplus under the land, that was a value from 5,000 to 11,000. That's what you put here. Okay, you just do all these additions and subtraction. Then you have your final figure. Okay, so please go and sit on that and make sure you understand it. Is that okay? And that is deferred tax. That is deferred tax. So you have 2 more questions there that you can take a look into and try to practice. If you have concerns around them, please do let me know. Okay, I'll be glad to answer. So next week, by God's grace, we'll be having 3 classes. Normally we have Tuesday and Thursday, but next week, by God's grace, it's going to be Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, right? So I'm adding when, because we're running up next week, so that we can cover. We have our cash flows, we have EPS. I needed to take you the group side of the profit or loss account. Okay, the consolidated profit or loss. We have done the balance sheet, so I also need to check that with you. Okay, even if it's going to be 1 or 2 questions, so we need to do that. So 3 days next week will be enough for us to do all of that. So I'll see you next week by God's grace. So anytime, feel free to ask questions. So I'll be glad to answer. And try as much as possible to watch all these videos. You still have a little bit of time, especially if you are writing ICANN in November. But if you are writing ACC, obviously, you don't have enough time because your exams will start September 6th. So you need to really double up. But for ICANN students, you still have enough a whole of September and October. Even if you sit on this video every day, watch 1 per day, then you should be fine. You should be fine. So thank you for being with me. I'm going to see you next week by God's grace. Enjoy your night rest. Good night.